Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech. So today we're going to be talking about Boros Dwarves in Pioneer. Definitely didn't think I'd ever be doing a deck like this on the channel, but here we are. So anyways, just let me know in the comment section below after the video. Let me know, is there any dwarves that I forgot? I mean, not that there's not really too many dwarves for the most part, but is there any that I forgot to include in the deck? Just let me know in the comment section below. As well as if you have any suggestions, just let me know in the comment section below, and it might be featured in an upcoming video. So, all right, Boros Dwarves. So there's not too many dwarves for the most part, especially in the Pioneer format, but there's enough to definitely make a pretty solid vehicle aggro deck, that kind of thing. So, all right, let's go and hop into it here. So our only one drop that we're playing is Toolcraft Exemplar, which is a very, very good one drop. At the beginning of combat on our turn, if we control an artifact, Toolcraft Exemplar gets +2/+1. If we control 3 or more artifacts, it also gains First Strike. So, kind of a one-man 3/2 when it's attacking. It's pretty solid. Yeah, that's about it. There's really not very many one-drop dwarves, and the other one I didn't include, I just did not think was worth including at all. So that's why we're just playing the Toolcraft Exemplar. So for our 2-drops, we're also playing 4 Veteran Motorists and 7 Dwarves. I know it kind of looks like a 1, but I promise it is a 7. Obviously, if you're playing Dwarves, you gotta play a 7. You gotta play 7 Dwarves in the Dwarf deck. I mean, it makes sense. So Veteran Motorist, 3/1 for 2. When it enters Scry 2, when it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Veteran Motorist is extremely good with the vehicles. It can crew any vehicle in our deck, gives it a buff when we do crew it, and it scries too when it enters, which is just a pretty good rate overall. So, and it's able to trade with a lot of creatures just because it is a 3/1 itself. So, very powerful card. And then 7 dwarves, 2/2 for 2, gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 dwarves you control. And then a deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 dwarves, which is just pretty cool. Obviously, the more you play, the bigger they get. It's just a pretty solid card overall, and it would be a flavor fail for me to not include 7 dwarves. So, but anyways, let's go and hop into the rest of the cards here. So these are a couple of our lords that we're playing. We're playing 3 Magda Brazen Outlaw and 4 Dapala. So the sacrifice 5 treasures ability on Magda is not always very relevant. So it's whenever a dwarf becomes tapped, create a treasure token, which is notable because that means we can crew vehicles, which is pretty fantastic. We are playing a couple artifacts, obviously, because we're playing some vehicles, but we also do have a spicy artifact and a spicy dragon card that are each one ofs that are also in the deck, which we'll get to those later. But anyways, Dapala is also very good. I would say it's probably the best card in the deck. Gives our dwarves 1/1, and each vehicle you control gets +1/+1 as long as it's a creature. And then when it becomes tapped, you may pay X. If you do, reveal the top X cards of your library, put all dwarf and vehicle cards from among them into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom, which is just great. Helps us refuel a little bit. We get more dwarves, we get more vehicles, so we can keep the pressure going. Not very many dwarf lords as of right now, so these are pretty much the only ones we're playing, but they are still pretty solid lords overall. We're also playing 2 Fairgrounds Warden. Kind of like our Brule Cathar, essentially, but just for dwarves. It is a 1/3, so which is kind of handy because that means, like a lot of the 3-mana guys that have like the Oblivion Ring effect on them, they die to like stomp and play with fire, that kind of thing. But at least this one does not because it's a 3-drop. So when it enters, exile a creature and opponent controls until Fairgrounds Warden leaves the battlefield. Just a pretty solid card in general. So our next slide here, we've got some of our vehicles that we're playing. We're playing 3 Heart of Kirin, just a very, very aggressive vehicle. 4/4 Flying Vigilance, crew 3, which means most of our creatures can, pretty much crew it for the most part. We're also playing 4 Reckoner Bankbuster. Just a great vehicle. Obviously, we know that. It is currently banned in Standard. Just incredibly good rate. Crew 3, again, we can crew this card very easily, especially with the Veteran Motorist. Then we're also playing 2 Aether Sphere Harvester. I was trying to decide what other vehicle I wanted to put into the deck, and I ultimately decided to play Aether Sphere Harvester. It's a 3/5 flyer, crew 1, so any creature in our deck can crew the Aether Sphere Harvester, and then we can also give it lifelink twice. We're not really playing any energy cards, but that's fine. Giving it lifelink twice is generally just good enough. So, big fan of the vehicles that we're playing in the deck overall. Kind of helps tie the entire deck together. So, our last page here, we're playing 4 Obliterating Bolt as our main removal spell. We've got a couple more on the board, but we're not really looking to play too many removal spells. And then our spicy one of targets for Magda, we're playing 1 Glorybringer and 1 Embercleave. So, with Magda, I wanted to have two cards that we could tutor up, but that we could still also cast if need be. You know, like for a dragon, we could realistically put in a Terror of Mount Velis or whatever, or Valkis or whatever it's called. Or for the artifact, we could put in a Portal to Phyrexia or something like that. But I wanted to put in cards that we could reasonably cast. And Glorybringer and Embercleave obviously are great examples of that. We can also just cast the Glorybringer, but if we tutor it up, it's also really good as well. And obviously Embercleave, you know, we attack with a couple of dwarves. There's no reason we can't just and just put it right into play. So those are a spicy one of tutor targets. So that's our entire main board, except for our lands we got to talk about real quick. We're playing 4 Sacred Foundry, 4 Inspiring Vantage, 4 Needleverge Pathway, pretty standard dual lands for Pioneer. We're also playing 1 Sekenzan, 1 Aganjo, and 2 Den of the Bugbear. And then rounding out our lands, we are playing 2 Mutavaults. They're dwarves, why wouldn't we play them? Didn't want to play 4 though, just because a lot of our cards are very specific. You know, they need red and white mana, so I didn't want to play 4 of those. And then we're also playing 2 mountains and 1 plains for our basics. And then as well as our spicy lands of the day, I decided to play some of the Kaladesh basics just because we have a lot of cards from Kaladesh. Some of the vehicles, a lot of the dwarves that we have are from those plains. So I figured I would include some very cool looking Kaladesh lands. So that is our entire main board, but don't go anywhere. We still have to talk about the sideboard as well as some budget options. So our sideboard is pretty simple overall. Graveyard Hate, rest in peace, is the best example. I feel like I talk about this card every other video. It's $1. Pick them up right now if you don't already have them. And then extra removal, I included cards like Portable Hole and Rending Volley. Obviously, Portable Hole is just a really great flexible, you know, like O-Ring effect. Hits a lot of different decks. And then obviously Rending Volley is great against like Abzan Greasefang, Mono White Humans. It's also really good against Blue White Spirits. And then I also put Sphere and Deafening Silence, which obviously that's Damping Sphere and Deafening Silence. Very good hate cards for the format. They're good against Mono Green Devotion. They're good against Arclight Phoenix. They're also very good against the Lotus combo control. But, you know, if there's different decks in your metagame, feel free to go ahead and change the sideboard up. If you like to see what I'm playing in my sideboard, it's going to be in the description below. You can check out the link and you can see exactly what I have in my sideboard. But feel free to go ahead and change it up if you need to. And the last thing we have to talk about is the budget options. So the non-lands in this deck are incredibly cheap. I mean, I think the most expensive card itself, I'm pretty sure, is the Reckoner Bankbusters, but they're only like $2-3 a piece. So this deck is incredibly cheap. I want to say it's about $170, but the entire cost of the deck is just in the lands itself. So to make that a little bit cheaper, we can cut the shock lands, the utility lands like the Mutavault, the Aganjo, the Sekenzan, that kind of thing. And then to kind of make that the deck cheaper, we can add some of the pain lands like the Battlefield Forges, and then also the slow lands as well, which I'm blanking on the name. I want to say it's Sundown Pass, but I'm pretty sure it's not Sundown Pass. But essentially, just go ahead and cut some of the more expensive lands, and we can put in some more budget-friendly dual lands, which are still, you know, definitely good enough for the deck. I mean, Battlefield Forge is a fantastic dual land. Those things, you can get them for like 50 cents a dollar, and they come in untapped. Sure, you take a little bit of damage, but overall, I mean, they are still fantastic. And with all those additions, cutting the shocks and the utility lands, we can easily get this deck under $50. Not a problem at all. The deck is very, very cheap, so if you're interested in building it, and if you really like dwarves, I highly, highly suggest it. So that is the entire deck. We flew through this one. It was just a whole bunch of 4-ofs and including a 7 of 7 dwarves. So let me know in the comment section below, is there any card that I forgot to include? As well as if there's any suggestions that you have that you'd like to see on the channel, just let me know in the comment section below. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.